Wadi Saleh, a member of the Sudan regional leadership of the Arab Socialist Ba'ath Party, recently spoke to Al-Hadaf newspaper, offering a critical assessment of the current political landscape in Sudan. Saleh asserted that neither of the competing governments in Sudan possesses genuine legitimacy, emphasizing a lack of revolutionary, consensual, or electoral mandate for either to represent the Sudanese people fully. While admitting each side has regional supporters, he maintained these blocs do not reflect the overall popular will. Saleh expressed deep concern over the political division, which he stated is fueled by hate speech and regional and tribal polarization. He warned that this divisive rhetoric has caused a profound social rift, threatening the country's unity on political, social, and psychological levels. He underscored that these discourses are exploited as tools for war and public support, exacerbating the national crisis. Addressing this toxic narrative and the deeply rooted division, he said, will require significant effort even after a ceasefire. The only solution, he declared, is to immediately halt this cursed war and address its root causes, primarily the lack of legitimacy.
Regarding a path out of the dual legitimacy crisis, Saleh reiterated that neither warring party holds any form of legitimacy. He emphasized that the solution lies in ending the war, addressing its consequences, and establishing a civilian, consensual framework to manage the transitional period, ultimately leading to elections and keeping the military out of governance. When questioned about the possibility of dialogue between the warring parties, Saleh affirmed that neither side can impose a fait accompli by force, predicting that the war will not be resolved by one side's victory over the other. He stated it will inevitably conclude through negotiation and a comprehensive agreement. Therefore, he argued, the solution hinges on agreeing upon a civilian formula for managing the transitional period, which would pave the way for free and fair elections, where the Sudanese people can choose their true representatives. He insisted that the military establishment must completely withdraw from political affairs and governance, even under current conditions, as its continued interference holds the country hostage to chaos and violence.
Saleh characterized the formation of a new government by the Rapid Support Forces and their allies as both a clear political escalation and an attempt to impose a new reality. He explained that this development deepens the division, particularly as this new government now speaks on behalf of a newly established political coalition. He warned that this situation transforms the upcoming dialogue from one between two armies to one between two political authorities, which he believes does not serve the country's interests. The danger, he elaborated, lies in accepting this reality, which could lead to a settlement implicitly recognizing two parallel authorities, akin to the situation in Libya. He expressed concern that such a scenario might result in a no-war state, a freezing of the conflict without a true end, allowing the warring powers to continue benefiting, prolonging the war, and threatening national unity and social cohesion. In his analysis of the conflict's nature, Saleh stressed that despite attempts to frame it as a regional or ethnic dispute, it is fundamentally a class struggle. He identified forces on both sides that control wealth and power, a small elite monopolizing resources and attempting to portray the conflict differently. He argued that with two authorities failing to meet the aspirations of the masses, there will be no real stability. On the role of the international community, Saleh observed a deep international divide, especially within the Security Council, which he believes limits the United Nations' effectiveness in resolving the Sudanese crisis. He suggested that influential global powers like the United States and European nations might play more impactful roles, yet acknowledged that their conflicting interests with regional powers involved in Sudan complicate a balanced settlement. Thus, he insisted, the true solution must be Sudanese-led, stemming from the will of the Sudanese people, with external support provided only when needed, not imposed from outside. Saleh described the impact of the governmental division on ordinary Sudanese citizens as tragic. He highlighted how the country's fragmentation adversely affects the movement of goods and services, intensifying suffering, particularly in besieged areas. Despite this, he noted grassroots initiatives emerging during the war to provide essential services like health, water, and security, emphasizing their partial success and the need for their development and support. Addressing the postponed quartet meeting, Saleh cautioned against overly high expectations given the major conflicting interests among participating countries. Nevertheless, he viewed the meeting as a step toward resolution, believing that reconciling contradictions among these influential nations could pressure the warring parties and facilitate dialogue. He added that this mechanism could achieve a breakthrough if a solution is found for the conflicting interests of the concerned countries and how to safeguard Sudan's internal affairs. However, he did not anticipate final solutions before clarity emerges on peace and security in Palestine and the broader region, given the interconnectedness of these issues. Saleh lamented the inadequate representation of Sudanese voices in international initiatives, noting the absence of warring parties, political forces, and civil society institutions from these discussions. He emphasized that stopping the war requires the warring parties to engage in negotiations, and that Sudanese voices must be unified to form a common vision that represents the majority of the people. Considering possible post-quartet meeting scenarios, Saleh predicted the continuation of military operations to impose new realities on the ground, potentially leading to international pressure for a ceasefire followed by political negotiations. He warned that even if the war ceases, military dominance over most of the country might persist, sidelining political and civil forces from power. Regarding the challenges to the return of displaced persons and refugees, Saleh stressed that with over 13 million displaced and 4 million refugees, reconstruction cannot begin while the war continues. He asserted that ending the war is essential for restoring security and encouraging returns. He clarified that the decision to return is individual and cannot be forced, and while international organizations support returns, they cannot compel anyone to go back to unsafe areas. Despite the situation's complexity, Saleh reaffirmed his belief that a broad civil popular front is the realistic solution to end the war and achieve lasting peace. He clarified that this front is not merely a slogan but an organized political and civil force united by common goals and tools. He concluded by affirming his party's commitment to building this front, engaging with political forces and activists, and expanding their alliance network to represent all Sudanese and guide the country back to the path of the December Revolution.